StrongIsland.com. Welcome to the week. Oh, geez, I said the wrong name of the show.
Oh, my goodness.
Welcome to Strong Island Scene. You know, I've been doing a lot of shows lately, so I'm getting a little confused. I apologize.
It's punch happy. It's, you know.
I'm way ahead of myself. But
gotcha.
This is Strong Island Scene. Jimi LaLumia, Bobby, L.A. La Serra. What's up?
It is February. Happy leap year. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy everything. It's happy because we're back. We're back with our monthly look at pop culture in the year 2012, according to the Mayan calendar. Do you believe in that Mayan calendar thing?
I'm very, very intrigued with it, and I do believe in certain aspects of it, but I'm not totally convinced about the ending.
What's the ending?
Well, it ends on December 21st, 2012.
And then the world ends.
And that just so happens to be the winter solstice, and at that morning sunrise, when the sun rises, it will be aligned with the center of the Milky Way galaxy, which is very, very rare, and there's a lot of things that we don't know could happen from that.
Isn't that fascinating?
It's weird. Yeah, it's very weird. So,
well,
we'll see.
At least we'll be able to report on it, hopefully.
Hopefully. Well,
as it happens.
We got to get a little bunker built so we can broadcast.
Exactly.
Even though,
exactly. And I will put on my Mayan space traveler gear. But welcome, everybody, to Strong Island Scene. We're going to be discussing, there's been a lot of pop culture events in the past month. And somebody is going to arrive any moment, I think. Or is Daisy just... Oh, hey, how are you? Good evening. We got some special guests in the house. We're going to discuss what's been happening in this past month. And the gong means it's time to go with our first subject.
Wow, okay. Talk about an entrance. You could have been a little quieter, guys.
I don't know. You know, we got the Psychotic Frogs Live at Max's album coming out very shortly. And I did a punk single. Who's here with us?
All right, this is J.T. Torres. He's part of the Strong Island fam. He does a show at the end of the weekly show on Thursday from 8:30 to 9, and does a little publicity, little interviews and stuff like that.
Cool, cool. All right.
And his cousin Andrew.
And Andrew. All right, so we got a live studio audience. This shit is really trying to keep this clean because we might get picked up by NBC. So anyway, the Live at Max's album will be coming out on the Strong Island Rock label momentarily, which featured my big underground hit, Death to Disco, Disco Sucks, back before these guys were born.
I heard it today for the first time.
Oh, what? Death to Disco or the album?
The actual track.
Oh, okay.
Well, I played him...
what, the original single?
The first single off of the album. The
the live. Okay,
the combo
yeah,
Wipeout.
The first single that we did in '77 sold like 10,000 copies out of the box. We did it on a budget of $185 at Ultrasound Studios. We recorded in mono. We had enough to do one take. I had never been in a band before. It was just kind of do-it-yourself, spontaneous, and we kind of killed disco. And I don't know if disco's still dead, but I do know that Don Cornelious is dead from Soul Train.
Yeah, man, rest in peace.
Yeah, I mean...
I was reading a little bit about him today, and, you know, he was a pioneer, absolutely a pioneer. So he had that show up on the airs 10 years before MTV, so got to give him credit, man.
Yeah, who knows why people do things, but he was kind of like the Black Dick Clark, bringing R&B.
He was always compared to Dick Clark.
Disco and what have you.
They called him the urbanite Dick Clark.
Mm-hmm. Not a big fan of hip-hop. I don't know if you followed the progression of Soul Train, but when hip-hop first came along, Curtis Blow and people like that were on the show, Don was not feeling it, but now he's not feeling anything. It's a shame. You know?
Yeah, that is a shame. I don't understand why.
But look on the bright side, more room for us on TV now if this gets transferred
I'm not
to an actual.
About that. That's not really wasn't scheduled into my plans.
Well, I didn't ask you.
But yo,
I love having a studio audience here. I come alive.
You know what? You're gonna get him all riled.
I come alive when I have a studio audience. That's the shit.
All right, but well, listen, seriously, all kidding aside, why did he commit suicide? Why? I don't understand.
What am I, his therapist? How do I know? Maybe,
don't know. Why?
Maybe a member of the Fatback Band wanted money back that he owed him from 1978. How do I know?
He wasn't getting any stardom anymore. I mean,
You know, people
he wasn't happy.
people live high on the hog when things are going good and they get the big house and the big car and the big debt to their dealer and 5 wives, and then suddenly they're sitting on the couch watching TV, eating a can of tuna fish or cat food or whatever the case may be, and things ain't so good anymore. But we miss you, Don. R.I.P., bro. Disco still sucks. So that was our breaking news story.
And what about Etta James?
Now, Etta James has been dying for quite a while. She has finally left the earth. She was a great R&B voice. She's primarily known for
At Last.
At Last. There you go. And she was a junkie.
She got pissed off that Beyonce actually had the audacity to perform her song. Which was not cool, because I mean, anybody can sing any song that they want to. I mean,
yeah, it's not her. Did she write it? I don't know if she wrote it.
I don't even know if she wrote it, but
first of all,
she sang it. She thought it was a classic, should never be touched by anybody but her, ever, forever, forever. So she was just insulted. She couldn't believe that Beyonce even did it.
Well, you know, the Obamas were trying to present a positive outlook, so they could have invited Etta, but I think since it was being broadcast, they wanted someone who was not going to be mainlining in between tracks, you know, so they wanted to present a positive. But I'm just being facetious. Look it up. So unfortunately, Etta's gone. She was chronicled in the Small World department in a movie called Cadillac Records, which was about a record label that recorded a lot of old blues guys like Muddy Waters and people like that, and her. And Beyonce played her in that movie, which is how Beyonce got to record that track in the first place.
Oh, so she must have been really threatened
but,
by the new Beyonce, I guess.
Yeah, there was a tribute to Etta James. Stevie Wonder performed at the tribute. Stevie Wonder was on today talking about Don Cornelious. So if you're an R&B star and you die, or you're a junkie, or you shoot yourself, be prepared, because Stevie Wonder will be talking about you on CNN the next day. So you're in good hands with Allstate.
Why? What did he say?
He said, it's so terrible, and what a great contribution. Who died again? Etta Cornelious, whatever. And my new album will be out on Motown in the spring. Something like that. I don't know. So some people are dead, but we're not. Our ratings are up here at Strong Island Central, and we're just going to discuss a lot of these contemporary things with you. If you want to chime in, we are at 516-945-9099. I sound so good, don't I?
I'd also like to say the views being represented do not necessarily reflect the website or its stations.
Oh, yeah.
So...
Oh, no. I'm actually entertaining Howard Stern. Is he still around? Is he alive?
Yeah, Howard Stern's
Well, if
alive.
Howard dies, I'm sure
alive.
Stevie Wonder will be on CNN.
All right, so listen, we got Don Cornelius, Etta James, who else? Because it all happens in threes. There's got to be somebody else. Let's just get it over with.
I know a lot of people that I'd like to add to that list, but we're not going to go there. Huh?
Demi Moore almost died.
Demi Moore.
Demi?
Yeah. Well, you know, she's 900 years old. She's a cougar. She was doing her thing. He came on 2.5 Men, and I guess the lifestyle of the character on the show agreed with him. So he decided to hang out with some broads that still have their own teeth, I guess. I don't know. Don't come out in the glass at night on the end table. She was doing whippets. Now, what? I'm not that familiar with whippets. Nitrous oxide?
It's nitrous oxide, and it, yeah.
Cool Whip.
You use it for, like making, they use them in bars, too, for doing drinks, too, some sort of seltzer or something like that. But, yeah, I mean, I used to do them when I was, like, 16, 17 years old.
I know. I heard some of your early records.
That's no good, because basically it like almost freezes your brain, you know, and it just slows it down. You're inhaling the gas. It goes in your brain. It freezes it for a second, and you're like, oh, you know.
Is there going to be a quiz later? The science class?
Yo, you brought it up. I'm just telling you what
I was
it's
just
I'm
curious.
being
Whip
honest
it, I
enough
think
with
of
the people
Devo. I think of Devo. Whip it real good.
Well,
And then salt and pepper, ripping that off.
all right. Well, that's what she
You remember
was saying.
Devo?
Yeah, I remember Devo.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with what we're discussing.
Whip it. Whip it.
I know, but she wasn't whipping it like Devo
Well, Ashton Kutcher is whipping it all over town, but not in her direction.
all over the world.
Yeah, it's a shame. You know, people fall in love. They fall in love.
Yo, that was a joke. I mean, listen, I'm surprised that they lasted that long, to be honest with you. But come on, she had to expect that. She's going out with a young kid like that. He's getting more and more famous as time goes on. Eventually, he's going to want some young, you know, some young stuff.
Wait, we just heard a rumor here that he was with the daughter first.
The daughter of Demi Moore and
Demi.
Bruce Willis. Demi. There's two things I can't pronounce. Is Kucha? What's his name? Kucha?
I thought that was like some kind of
Kutcher?
Hispanic reference to an
Kucha.
anatomy part there, the way you were saying that.
Kucha
Damn,
and Demi.
come on, it's a family show.
Demi and Kucha. I can't say those two words.
Demi and Cooch.
Kucha? See, it's like one of those words you say a couple times.
You know,
that
the
don't sound
previous
like
shows that
anything.
we have done have been very refined and dignified, and I don't know.
All right.
I've been breathing in
Well,
the
we
air
don't
when
have
I
any
walked
ge-
into Strong Island, and it's, you know,
That's what happens when you don't have guests and you don't have callers.
it's all. You don't have gas? I had gas earlier. I'm old.
Guests.
Oh, guests.
Guests. All right, let's keep it rolling, man. What
Well,
else we
wait,
got?
you know, we're
Time's
dealing
running
with
out. We're already-
major issues of the day here. So Etta James, in all seriousness, we do miss her. As far as the importance of Etta James, it's very funny how media will reflect on someone like Etta James, who really had one big pop record and then had a catalog of, you know, doing blues and R&B blues and living that whole thing, not really having that much of a presence on radio. And it's very selective how they will tune in on somebody and ignore other people that actually were more successful, had a bigger impact, like Gladys Horton.
Go ahead. I know you're waiting for me to say, who the hell is
Don't you have
Gladys
those
Horton?
sound effects over there? You were playing with all those sound effects before. You're trying to incorporate
prepared.
it.
I'm not prepared.
Well, so what else
It's
is
a little
new?
overwhelming live. with all
Gladys
these-
Horton was the lead singer of the Marvelettes, which was Motown's first female group before the Supremes or Martha and the Vandellas. And the story goes that Berry Gordy, the president of Motown, lost the rights to their name at a gambling casino in Las Vegas. And so now you have all these phony Marvelettes going around that are like 20 years old going, here's one of our big hits from 1963. Bitch, your mother wasn't even born in 1963. But so Gladys Horton died. She was a Motown pioneer. I don't remember anybody making any news about that. But that does not lessen the impact of Etta James on the economies of R&B and of certain dealers in certain parts of town. But anyway, thank you. Wow. See, Howard Stern, there we go. There we go. So anyway,
All right.
next up is the X Factor,
Yeah, man.
which is one of
Fireworks.
one of the many performance shows. We've talked about performance shows before on here in these competitions. And Simon Cowell had come on board, had left American Idol, created this series in England and brought X Factor to America. There's a great hip-hop guy on there, Chris Renee, that did not win, that's been signed by L.A. Reid for Epic Records, and I think he's going to do very well. But I think Simon really thought that having Paula Abdul drooling on his shoulder like the good old days was going to attract an audience, and it didn't. So it has just been announced, and knowing Paula Abdul, the fact that she was just fired publicly, that may be that third that you were talking about to join Stevie Wonder and Etta James. God forbid, I'm not wishing it on anybody. But, you know, this is a great fall from grace for Paula to be kicked back out into the street and do whatever a girl has to do for money when she's not on TV.
Wow.
But I'm interested to see who they bring in to replace Steve Jones, who was this stiff guy from England, who just was like, look at me, I'm on television, and really did not belong there. Nicole Scherzinger from Pussycat Dolls was another host, and it was very amateur.
I heard the possibility of bringing in someone like Cher or Mariah Carey.
They've been talking about Mariah Carey.
Not both of them, because obviously that would be, you know.
They've been talking about Mariah Carey, but
someone with big name,
tits.
talent.
Oh. You know, Mariah is a train wreck in progress for the past 15 years. That might make for interesting TV. I mean, they're bringing Howard Stern on to that America's Got Talent show as a judge. Did you know that? I'm not even going to touch that because there's a lot I could do with that sound effect.
Howard Stern doesn't know talent.
Okay. Well, he knows how to get paid. Mm-hmm. Speaking of getting paid, Mega Upload just got closed down overseas, which was one of the many music sharing, file sharing operations that allowed people to stop buying music and start just taking it because they got enough money, was always the line when I was in the final days of my record store out in Ronkonkoma. And everybody would be like, well, you know, I downloaded that, looking at records on the wall. I downloaded that, I downloaded that, I downloaded that. I was like, well, don't you realize that eventually there's going to be no record labels and nobody's going to be put in the studio and nobody's going to be able to get stuff out because nobody's making money and you're just taking everything and then it's going to suck because there's not going to be anything to get excited about, like in the days when every 5 minutes there was a new album from Memphis Bleak, if you're into hip-hop, and then 2 minutes later there was Cassidy, and then there'd be a new Jay-Z album coming out, and this and then the other thing. And if the labels don't have money, that's not going to be happening. What do you think? It just appears out of nowhere?
Yeah, but they didn't understand that.
Well, they don't want to understand, because if you can get something for free, am I correct, guys?
Unless you're in the business,
you can get something for free, and there's no enforcement, you're going to take it. And so there's this big battle over something called S.O.P.A, which was a law they were trying to pass, which is Stop Online Piracy. I don't know what the A stands for. What is S.O.P.A? Was
Stop Online
I thought it was like
Piracy
Stop Online
Act.
Piracy, assholes. I don't know. Something. It stood.
S.O.P.A is soup in Spanish.
It's what?
Soup in Spanish.
It's soup in
S.O.P.A.
Spanish. All right. Well, guess what? A lot of people are in the soup now. But there was a lot of activity online that helped defeat the S.O.P.A Act, and there's lots of strong feelings both sides of the fence in terms of, you know, what are your feelings on that?
Well, you know what? I'm like, I have certain feelings for it, and I have certain feelings against it. It's like I do wish that somehow it could be tightened up a little bit, because there are people just taking everything and anything and claiming that they own it and putting it and using it in all formats, selling it. And at the same time, you know, I don't want it to be too strict where, you know, it gets to be a little, you know, imprisoned feeling, you know, where you can't everything.
As a recording artist, how do you feel about it? As a record label, how do you feel about it?
Well,
be brave. Go on, say it. Keep your hands off my shit, bitches. Open your wallet.
That's what I'm saying. I'm for it to certain aspects, but you know, I just don't want it to get totally out of control where it's like what they're saying is like it could get so strict that let's say YouTube somehow one video on the YouTube site that infringes upon somebody's copyrights, and they can take the whole site down. So it's got, you know.
Well, I think that doesn't just happen by magic. I think each particular case would have to go through a hearing and what have you, and there'd be lawyers back and forth, and everything would be tied up. I think that was scare tactic, because people get shit for free, and they want to keep getting shit for free. And a generation grew up feeling like they're entitled to. So now if someone goes into the studio and records, nobody wants to pay for it, and so this person's never going to get to be a proper artist. Because most of the people that are still selling records, if you look at the charts these days, from Kanye West and Jay-Z to Britney Spears and pop people like Rihanna, even to rock acts, are all people that had careers established, for the most part, before the online piracy was really kicking in. There's an occasional Gaga here or a Drake there that manages to make their way through, but it's really hard for a new actor, a new artist, or a new track to get traction when everybody's stealing it, nobody's buying it, so it doesn't look like anybody really wants it. I do think what's available online is very helpful to an artist, the exposure. You reach people without having to rely on a record label deciding you're good, you're not good, you're going to be heard, you're not going to be heard. The internet liberated that so that everybody could be heard. Everybody gets their opportunity.
Yeah,
But people also have bills to pay. Not everybody wants to be sitting on that couch with Don Cornelious eating a can of cat food.
and not anybody really needs to be heard. Some people just shouldn't be out there.
Yeah, well,
But
natural
you
selection.
can't have it both ways, I guess.
Natural selection takes care of that. I mean, Kim Kardashian's record didn't exactly go zooming up the charts just because she decided that she wanted to make a record. I think people still have some ability to figure out what's worth supporting, what they want to own. I don't think people even wanted to illegally steal the Kim Kardashian record. They were like, we'll pass on that one.
Nobody wanted that.
Exactly. But it's a very heated subject, and I think there's going to be a lot more attempts as time goes by compared to the old days when they were tracking down certain people and suing them for $100 million, which was in the papers a few years ago when they were first trying to crack down on people downloading illegally and then file sharing it with other people and everybody. I put out a record. It goes online. One person buys one copy, and suddenly, a week later, 20,000 people have a copy, but I only sold one. And, the up part of that is that if the record's good, yes, you can go out into the clubs because everybody knows your tracks and make money performing the track in the club, and you can sell T-shirts, you can sell merchandise, but that's still kind of like a weak excuse.
Yeah, because that's said that your main product that you really love to do and your main focus, and you can't even make money off it. You got to make money off of merchandising and all other stuff around it when you should be making money off of what you love, the initial product that you're making.
Right, and everybody thinks that means you're a pig if you actually want to get paid.
No.
Especially if you invest some of your own money into studio time. If you invest some of your money into equipment, you'd at least like to get some of that back. And I think because of how it was celebrated when Napster first came along, kids don't get that. They just get, well, I've been taking this shit online for the past 6-7 years, and now all of a sudden you tell me I got to pay for this shit? And they don't want to hear that. And it's kind of hard to re-educate after you open the box and you let everything out of the box with the tube of toothpaste and try to put it all back in again.
Because you have a whole generation of kids that when they started, became aware of getting music and how you got it, initially they were stealing it right from the beginning. So they don't even know the other way of how to, let alone go to a record store. I mean, nobody.
Well, there are none.
Exactly. So
there are none.
But before that, you buy. I mean, after that, you buy them legally at a legal MP3 download site.
Yeah, I think the FYE chain, whatever's left, they're closing a lot of the remaining sites. And are there any other record stores out there? There are independent record stores around here at all? There's nothing, right?
Absolutely nothing.
Now, you're old enough. You remember record stores? Did you used to go to where?
Nobody beats the Wiz.
Okay, all right, okay, yeah. And
there's more like mom and pop classic used record stores. Like they're still active.
right. Well, also
As funny as it sounds, but
right.
yeah, no,
right.
they're around here.
Very, very seldom you find one.
And they don't last very long because they got rent to pay and stuff like that. And yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It's difficult, and I think a whole generation misses the opportunity to go to record stores where you'd meet other people that are into the same kind of thing that you're into, the same type of records. You get to hang out. You get to talk about things. You get to collect things, build up collections. And that's why a lot of the artists that were around before still have very big followings, as opposed to Laffy Taffy. Remember that? Remember that record?
D4L.
Soulja
yeah,
Boy.
yeah.
Where's Soulja Boy these days? Yeah, that's right. There was a lot of artists, once the downloading started, that was successful on the amount of hits on YouTube, but because people did not get into the thing of going out, buying the record, owning it, supporting them, that they don't really have careers. They make that noise, and it's almost like the cat playing baseball on YouTube. It doesn't turn into a career. It turns into their 5 seconds, you know, not even 15 minutes anymore, but they're 5 seconds, and then it's over.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what that means for the future of the music business, the future of the entertainment business. If there's, you know, like I said, the occasional Drake, the occasional Gaga still manages to break through. And in the case of someone like Gaga, a lot of that has to do as much with the visual and all the hype and all the antics. The records are great, not knocking the songs. The songs work for what they're supposed to be. But it's not, you know, I mean, they'll talk about how such and such a record has spent 13 weeks at number one, 14 weeks at number one, and they're comparing it to like the 1960s and the 1970s, and how this person beat the Beatles records and that person beat a Motown group's record, like, you know, the Supremes or Temptations or Stevie Wonder. But the only difference is you'll have like one record now that's hot, like Adele, that goes to number one, and she's got the number one single, and she stays there for 16 weeks. But who's threatening to knock her out of number one? If you go back to the 1960s, if the Beatles were number one, James Brown was breathing down the neck, so was the Supremes and the Temptations, so were the Rolling Stones, so was Bob Dylan. You had competition from gigantic acts, the Four Seasons, the Beach Boys, the Mamas and the Papas, a lot of other R&B groups that were around like Smokey Robinson, the Miracles. So it was an accomplishment to be number one when you were fending off all these other major acts. Who is Adele fending off right now? Mm-hmm. It's, you know what I'm saying? It's so, even when they talk about, wow, 16 weeks at number one, well, wow, that's because whatever's at number two, nobody even really cares about, because there's just not enough new artists that are making that big of a noise as artists did back in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, even into the 90s when hip-hop, when there was always chart battles, when hip-hop records were coming out, new albums were dropping. The most recent battle that I recall was the big deal with 50 Cent and Kanye West a couple of years back. And they had the cover of, I think, The Source and even Rolling Stone, where they had them face-to-face like it was going to be like a prize-fighting match. Mm-hmm. And that's exciting if you're a music fan. It's because being a music fan is like being a sports fan. You're rooting for your favorite team, and that's the way it used to be. And I don't even think that there's the availability there for that kind of excitement, and that's why I think people are just not as excited about music anymore, because the whole structure of labels and publicity departments and that buzz of people going out and buying records and owning them, and I don't know.
And I think the quality of the artists and the music is not as good as it was years ago. So you have once in a while you have that artist that stands out, like an Adele, who is very original. And then the rest is just flooded with mediocre artists.
Well, you know, quality in pop music is an age-driven thing, and I don't want to sound like old grandpa, because when we go into that thing,
just don't say back in the day.
That's your gig. I don't say back in the day. Today's the only day I'm interested in. Tomorrow, I'm not really interested in back in the day. But the point I'm making is a kid right now that's excited about LMFAO, or is excited about Drake, or is excited about Kanye, that music is just as important to them as the Beatles or the Rolling Stones or James Brown or whatever was back in the 60s, because that's their music. That's what they're growing up with. Whatever you grew up with, there's always going to be that's going to be important to you, because you experienced going from being a child to an adult with that playing in the background. That's like when I was a kid, the old people would say, oh, you're listening to all that junk, and when I was your age, we had good music. So I don't really want to go there.
I hear you, but at the same token,
a lot of it does suck, though. I have to say, a lot of it is that fly-by-night type of
Well, a lot of these songs, I don't think they're going to withstand time. They're not going to be recurrence. I mean, there's so many the classic songs that were made 20, 30 years ago that are just still.
We're not hearing Laffy Taffy on oldies radio or Soldier Boy.
No,
we're not.
Exactly.
We're not.
That's
There isn't really.
I'm just saying.
That's what I'm saying. That's like flash in the pan stuff. But you still got CBS FM, which is like #2 in New York in the ratings, and stations like that that are playing classic stuff that are getting huge ratings because it just reflects a different period of time and artists that are still respected and that are referenced by other people. Like a Stevie Wonder was having hits in the 1960s when he was called Little Stevie Wonder because he was a teenager, and he's still the go-to guy when someone dies. He's still looked upon as, and we're not. I don't know that we're really seeing artists come through now that can take that over. So what does the future hold in terms of the people that would be looked upon as big people? It'll be Britney Spears, I guess. I don't know.
Well,
and I mean, she is important to her following. I'm not to knock pop music. In the 1970s, people were laughing at Donny Osmond and the Jackson 5. In the late 80s, when I opened my store, New Kids on the Block was huge. And everybody's like, nobody's going to care about them in 5 years. Well, they just toured last year, teamed up with Backstreet Boys, and sold out really big rooms because when they were out, people still had to go and buy their records. They were selling tons and tons of records.
And all those girls who go to those concerts now are all reliving their past.
Right.
Listening to that music, it brings them back. They freaking love it. If you go to one of those concerts, bro, you will not be able to hear that you've never heard, 15, 20,000 girls, women screaming at the top of their lungs. It's terrible.
Well, they own the merchandise. When you own merchandise, you have records in a crate, or you've got your CD collection, you got the old cassette tapes, whatever was around for when you were a certain age. You look at that stuff. Most people don't throw that out. They've still got a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. So
they've bonded with that from their youth. And someone's coming around, people are going to go to check them out because that's who they grew up with. Now,
because they can't relate to the new stuff that comes out.
Right. Is Jessica Simpson going to, or Mandy Moore, or
No.
Sponge, or some of the grunge bands from the 90s, it's the hair metal bands like Cinderella and Jackal and
Look at
Winger and all those hair bands that were on MTV just before hip hop blew up. I don't know. It's a different.
Compare it to like Nirvana, Stone Temple Pilots, and just a lot of that rock stuff. Those guys are still. I mean, not Nirvana.
Well,
Foo Fighters.
the remains of Nirvana. Dave Grohl carries on with Foo Fighters, but that was still product.
Could you compare that type of talent, to pop artists? Like, what I'm saying? These guys are writing tremendous, songs and playing all their music, and they do it live. And a lot of these artists can't do that. They have their songs written for them. They can't perform it all live. They can't,
The last Strong Island Scene, we got into a little thing about defined talent, if you remember.
Yeah, we did.
And we discussed there's ability and there's talent. And ability means someone can rhyme flawlessly, someone can sing perfectly and hit all the notes, and that's ability. Talent is you entertain people. People want to see you. They want to hear you. And there are some people that entertain. Biz Markie didn't really hit notes on Just a Friend, but I bet you Biz Markie would still, when he appears, would still pull a crowd, even though, is that talent?
All right, so that's funny you said that, because I would hope people like...
I think that's funny that you said that, because I just signed Biz Markie to Strong Island.
No, listen. Because I always thought this way is, I've made a lot of stuff. All right, I've put out over 75 records, and people would ask me, they'd be like, "Oh, you play those instruments? You play the keyboard, or you play the drums, or you do this?" And I would be like, "You know what? I mean, I can do what I have to do in the studio, on the computers, all that. I guess that what I was trying to say is I have the ability, but I never considered myself a true talent because I could never grab a guitar or jump on the keyboard and start playing. Like I have friends that are keyboard players that can literally just put a keyboard right in front of them, piano, and they will just entertain you beyond belief. Same thing with a guitar. I can't do that. But if you leave me in the room with that equipment and some technology, and I have the ability to do stuff like that.
Well, talent in the entertainment business, they refer to talent as the people that are going to come out and keep the radio on or that are going to keep their TV on. That's referred to as the talent. There's the production, there's the whatever, and then there's the talent. And talent is the ability to keep people's attention, to keep them interested in what's going on. That, to me, is the definition of talent. Now, as for you, I came on board here after my years in punk rock with a little saying, life is too painful, I need to take drugs, drugs, drugs.
Yeah.
And you managed to turn that into a house record that showed up on the charts of some of the biggest DJs worldwide, that got played in some of the biggest clubs in New York and Miami and London and what have you. That's talent. Because I was not singing, I was basically doing performance art. Mm-hmm. You managed to do what you do to make that into something that people paid money to own. Because we were moving records. We were.
Yeah, I agree. But I always felt like there's a difference between talent, you know, and
ability.
Talent and so in other words, if
ability means you can sing and you can hit all the notes.
I got
There's
you.
a lot of people that can sing and hit all the notes that are boring as all hell. They don't bring anything to the table besides their ability to hit notes. And you can hear millions of people from coast to coast that can come up and sing perfectly and hit every note, but you would not pay money to see them because there's a million others alongside them. But someone who's unique and keeps your attention and is entertaining and may not hit all the notes develops a fan base, and that person that does hit all the notes does not develop a fan base, which is why a lot of these American Idol type shows where they're going more on the fact, you know, that you hit some notes, you're a pitchy dude, or whatever the lines are that they use. Well, guess what? A lot of people that are huge stars would have never survived on American Idol. Madonna would have never made it into the first round. Britney Spears would have, you know, because
Jennifer Lopez would have never made it.
Jennifer Lopez is judging, and she would have not have made it because we're in the entertainment business. We're designed to keep people's attention, like we're keeping people's attention for an hour, hopefully, and then we put it on YouTube and what have you, and we watch the numbers grow. And you have to keep people's attention and keep their interest and make them want to come back the next time you're around.
I love Jennifer Lopez, but to hear her,
so have a lot of people.
To hear her give advice on all the little riffs and vibrato and all that shit is just, to me, is just a
she
joke.
Can sing. Those are her. That's her voice on the record.
Let me tell you, not. I know people who recorded her, and I know people who worked with her, and it takes a long time.
There's tweaking, and there's also melding of additional voices, as we were talking about Paula Abdul earlier, and why she always lip-synced on stage when she performed, because we found out afterwards, after she did Straight Up and Cold Hearted Snake and all this kind of stuff, that there was a girl named Yvette Marine, who was a studio singer, whose voice was very similar to Paula's, but was more powerful, and we found out that when those records were being made, that Yvette Marine, uncredited on the record, was in the studio with Paula, adding her vocal underneath Paula's vocal, allegedly. Mm-hmm. And that still happens in lots of situations, that if Paula had to go out with a live mic, and whenever she performed on American Idol, she tried to get a few singles off the ground when she was on American Idol. Never, ever, ever with a live microphone. Ever.
Yeah.
Because they're dancing, because they're jumping around. Well, guess what? Lady Gaga jumps and dances around.
I like Paul.
And so does Christina Aguilera. And they always use a live mic, and they are still able to blow and to have their pipes going and be dancing and still have the power.
I hear you.
Some people don't have the power in their voice.
No, like Janet Jackson. She has
That's another
absolutely
case.
no power.
That's another case. Yep.
If
yep.
you listen to songs that are written for Janet Jackson and Jennifer Lopez, there's really not much of a range.
Right.
It's written pretty simple and is nothing too extreme for them. And
Exactly.
they can do it, and they got good voices. But they don't have tremendous ability.
I think our studio audience is leaving us. All righty. Well, it was great. We love having a studio audience. Join us again next time. Maybe we'll put you over here. All righty. Very cool. Thank you.
Cool.
We'll see you. All right. So anyway, it's a moot fact of, ability, what's not ability, and what have you.
It's a fine line. Ability, talent. It's a little blurred sometimes,
Exactly.
Now
you keep that going because I'm going to get me some water real quickly. All right. I'll be right back, folks. I'm not leaving.
I wish you would have told me that earlier.
Well, I'm sorry, but I'm going to ask you to give me your unbridled opinion on Steven Tyler's rendition of the national anthem. I don't know if did you hear it? Start. I'll be right back.
This is Jimmy's getting some water song. That is the official Jimmy leaving the broadcast table to get water song.
Yes, exactly.
All right, but you were talking about Steven Tyler, and you know what I'm saying? I heard him sing that. I heard about it the next day, and I went to I think it was YouTube, and I watched it, and I honestly thought, yo, that was Steven Tyler. I don't know what anybody expected him to do. He sang it. He sang it like Steven Tyler. He hit the notes. It wasn't the greatest. He screamed half of it, but that was him. I don't understand what they expected they were getting. What did they expect?
Roseanne Barr.
Luciano? What's his name? Pavarotti?
Pavarotti. Yeah, I don't know. Well, you ask
It wasn't that bad.
You ask a Steven Tyler because he's on American Idol, because he's an iconic figure. At the same, why did they ask Roseanne Barr? Do you remember that?
Well, come on. Did anybody listen to her before she did it?
I listened to it.
No, but I'm saying, but
mean?
before she did it, before she was hired, she sounds like a freaking a pig to begin
Now,
with.
come on. Let's be nice. They knew she's a comedian. She's a comedian. She was very popular at the time. Popularity rules.
She's not a singer. They should have never hired her to sing. What did she? Oh, she did Take Me Out to the Ball Game. She didn't sing the national anthem, did she?
I think she did.
Oh, well,
yeah, the outrage was because
the
national anthem is so revered, and they don't do
Exactly.
Take Me Out to the Ball Game. They do the national anthem, and she kind of massacred it and then grabbed her crotch at the end, if you remember. And
whoever hired Roseanne Barr to sing the national anthem should be fired, along with Roseanne
these
Barr.
decisions are made by analysts who look at popularity, and I think her TV show
but when they decided,
was probably still riding high at the time. I don't remember what year it was.
When they decided, there wasn't somebody who was close, somebody who could sing.
Someone with ability.
So it's total popularity over talent and ability.
Well, you said
Because
someone who could sing is that ability thing.
She doesn't have the talent or the ability. Why was she hired to sing? She has no singing talent and no singing ability.
The talent that she had was the talent to attract a large audience every week on national TV, and they were hoping that she would hold the attention of that large audience, those who love her, those who hate her. And obviously, it was all the talk of the town. Christina Aguilera, who
she messed up.
I'm a big fan of, had a very rough year. I guess it was all last year, was it, with the national anthem?
Last year, yeah, before The Voice.
For Christina, she had a real rough year because, and I'm a big fan of hers, and I'm very happy that she enjoyed a comeback on the charts by catching a ride with Maroon 5 on Moves Like Jagger, which actually opened the door for her to do a new record, do a new album, and hopefully have some success. But it was a rough year the year before because that national anthem performance was not good. Her Bionic album, which was kind of her trying to channel Gaga, did not do well. There were no hits off of there, really, to talk about as hits. She did a film with Cher called Burlesque.
Oh, yeah.
That was the name of it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I liked it. I thought it was campy. It was fun. So she had a real rough year. She performed at the Grammy Awards with Jennifer Hudson and a bunch of other people, and she kind of fell down during one of the performances. But then I think she also, at getting back to the Etta James thing, Stevie Wonder performed at a memorial for Etta James, and so did Christina. And I think Christina, again, I haven't seen it, so I can't really tell you. But from what I saw in the newspapers and online, Christina kind of messed up again at this Etta James thing. So I don't know what exactly is happening with her. But I do think that The Voice will get her, when she's in the studio and when she's really on, she is
Christina
flawless.
Aguilera is amazing. Absolutely. I
and
agree.
TV is the new radio, because Maroon 5, Adam Levine would not be enjoying the success. Maroon 5 was kind of over before The Voice. They were releasing records that weren't getting play. And once they came with moves like Jagger, which did stay at #1 for many, many weeks, and still, I believe, is on the iTunes top 10, is still getting played at top 40. They hitched Christina onto that. And he did the Stereo Hearts with Gym Class Heroes as Adam Levine. So TV is the new radio, these TV shows.
So Christina got good publicity after it?
She
used
had
it good
renewed success in sales and on the charts and on radio, which is what a recording artist needs.
Adam Levine.
Adam Levine and Maroon
said.
5. The Moves Like Jagger is credited to Maroon 5. They had several singles that were released before that basically did nothing, and they were considered yesterday's papers.
And what about Blake?
Blake Shelton, I think,
he
didn't really need much help. I think
he did
does
something with the Footloose song or something like that.
Yeah, and he had released a single, I think, called Honeybee or something around that period of time.
Yeah, okay.
But I think he was already, country is a whole other thing in the country fans.
Yeah, but he got a lot of exposure.
He definitely got a boost, and people that are not normally into country discovered him. And CeeLo, CeeLo had his FU song.
But that was even before The Voice. So
that was before The Voice, and he released a single. He released a single after that called "Bright Lights, Bigger City," which was a big hit in England.
But that was before The Voice. So what is?
No.
Sure?
I believe the "Bright Lights, Bigger City" was released during The Voice, and did do well in the UK.
Seems like CeeLo didn't monopolize as much as everybody else.
But he's making a tremendous amount of money. They had a feature, I think, in the Wall Street Journal or somewhere, on how he's made zillions of dollars from endorsements and commercials and the use of the "Forget You" song. So television really has always been a factor. Ed Sullivan with the Beatles, or Dick Clark with American Bandstand, or Don Cornelius, Soul Train exposure would always help record sales most of the time. Unless people really just did not like the record. Not everybody that appeared on American Bandstand or Soul Train were guaranteed to have a hit because of, we're cool. Daisy's not.
No, don't mind Daisy.
Not ruining my profile for
Everybody
my fans.
can see you.
Okay, good. All right. But TV really does serve as a way to help record sales and to help crystallize, or to bring someone back like Christina. And everything cool? Everything's good there? Okay.
Yeah,
speaking
man.
of TV,
checking all the chat rooms.
Speaking of TV, is there anything going on that I should know about?
Everything is great.
Okay, good.
Everything is great.
Speaking of TV, plastic surgery is an issue that I noticed when I was watching the Dick Clark New Year's Rockin' Eve, because I actually stayed home and had family dinner and just relaxed this year and just did the whole ABC TV thing starting at 8 o'clock, where they did like the past 40 years of New Year's Rockin' Eve. And then right up to the moment when Fergie showed up with her nose from last year, and Nicki Minaj showed up with her brand new nose, and there's this whole epidemic of noses. So
New noses.
New noses. I'm wondering if I'm a candidate for that or not. You know, I've heard a lot about.
I could use a new nose.
Yeah.
It's not perfect.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what goes through people's minds when they're constantly. I think What are you doing?
I was just laughing
oh,
at
okay.
myself.
We're looking at
Funny
delayed
like that.
reaction of you
Yeah, it's funny.
fondling your nose.
Sometimes
okay.
it's funny to
All
watch
right.
yourself.
Well, I don't know. I can't really comprehend what they're thinking. And when they first come out, it's kind of like a shock. It's kind of like being at the circus. It's like when Michael Jackson's Bad video was premiered, and Michael had a lot of work done already prior with the Thriller era. But when Bad came out, I think that was jumping the shark for MJ, because that was the lighter skin and the really drastic visual of the surgery.
Because they had to fix it, right? When it first got done, it was just
No, it wasn't breaking yet. It wasn't where the nose had to be replaced yet. He was on the road. He became obsessed.
I don't even like to talk about that whole Michael Jackson nose
facial mania.
You know, I seen it. I seen him change over those 10 years or so.
Right.
And I it's like there's the old original Michael Jackson, and then there's the whole like late 90s 2000 is just, I don't even want to know nothing. I don't want to know nothing.
Well, there's self-esteem issues, and the point of the matter is you can become very wealthy, you can become very famous, what have you. If you have low self-esteem, that doesn't go away. And most people have self-esteem issues. The average person does have issues about how they look. And I remember Karen Carpenter, which is going way back, when the Carpenters were huge in the 70s, when all that mushy housewife rock stuff was big with Close to You, and We've Only Just Begun, read a review in Billboard where, you know, she was the drummer for the Carpenters. I don't know if you remember any of that.
You're a little before my time.
Too young. But at the dawn of the 70s, all of this, what I call mush rock, took over top 40 radio in America. Helen Reddy, John Denver,
singing,
well, electric guitars and drums disappeared. Top 40 radio kind of surrendered that to FM rock radio. And New York radio especially was just this mush-orama. The Carpenters were at the head of that line. But Karen Carpenter supposedly read a review in Billboard magazine which said that she was looking heavy. That was the beginning of a descent into anorexia before people even knew what anorexia really was the early 70s, before people were talking about it. And she was skeletal by the time she passed away. She was not, you know, and so, like I said, self-esteem is a very powerful thing, and I guess the nose says it all when you see your pop stars on TV and they don't have the same nose from the last single to the new single that they're presenting to you. But, you know, with fame and with money comes the perks, like Jay-Z and Beyonce taking over a hospital when their baby was born and supposedly denying access to other fathers trying to come and see the newborn babies. That was the big talk of the town, because we are covering a lot of events in the past month, and there was a lot of pop culture events just based on what we have breezed through in the remaining minutes of this hour, which just went by, with a lot of stuff that we haven't even touched. But the Jay-Z Beyonce thing was a very big deal and very controversial in terms of who do they think they are, royalty. But
well, the real story behind that is that hospital had that special suite designed for rich people and celebrities who want to pay a lot of money to have, is basically like a luxury hotel suite. It wasn't part of the hospital that was like taken away from other people. It was already being built. It was designed for rich people to spend that money and have the luxuries that
so you're
they
saying fathers were not being denied the right to see their babies. Is that what you're saying? 'Cause that's the story that was...
What I'm saying is that it sounds like when it first came out, it sounded like they took over the whole floor of a hotel and everybody got pushed out of rooms and stuff like that.
That's what I heard.
Well, that's what I heard initially. And then from what I heard is that's not the case. The hotel, it's a private hotel. They built part of this wing for this purpose. It's like I said, it's like a luxury hotel suite, all the luxuries of home while you have your baby. What I'm saying is, though, possibly what could have happened, this was the first time this suite was being used, and maybe they didn't go through the motions and certain things got jammed up, and maybe people did get screwed up and get affected by it, but I don't think that was the intention.
Well, I guess we'll never know, and it made for a great story anyway.
I've been waiting for it to come out, but it kind of disappeared. But
it made for a great story, and it's the type of stuff that people love to bitch about because it gives them something to talk about, and secretly everybody wants to be in a position that they can do that themselves.
I was pissed off when I first heard it. I was like pissed off. I was mad. And then as I started to get more and more details and I started to read into it, and then I said, oh, okay. And then I seen what the hospital did, and I was like, all right. So maybe people did get affected, but that could be the hospital's fault for not going, you know, like this was the first run and maybe certain things happened. But I don't think Jay-Z and Beyonce start demanding things.
All right, I forgive them that. But in the final moments here, I do want to mention that I believe it's February 18th, isn't it? The Saturday, February 18th, is Disco Revisited at the Ohika Castle in Huntington, right on the water, which is a fundraiser for the Elena Malajas Foundation, a very worthwhile 1970s disco party with the headliner John Jelly Bean Benitez spinning in the big room. I've been asked to DJ there as a warm-up, and Mr. Serra is going to accompany me as a technical advisor. That 70s band will be doing a set, and we'll be DJing before, during, and after their set leading up to Jelly Bean Benitez. So definitely check out on my Facebook or at the Ohika, O-H-E-K-A, right, Castle in Huntington.
I'm surprised you even pronounced that correctly.
I was calling it Ohika.
You must have been saying it a lot of
I looked at it on there, and it's quite a lavish affair, and it's for a very worthy cause. And I found that disco has been very good to me, both when I was destroying it in the 70s and reviving it on the DJ club circuit in the 90s. I'd like to thank Outlook Magazine for rewarding me for that with a Lifetime Achievement Award, which makes me feel like I'm 900 years old at the Thatched Cottage a few weeks back.
Was that the Bob Hope Lifetime Achievement Award?
I was going to take my teeth out and wave them around. I really didn't know. You know, it was very, very nice. So we'd like to thank them, and we'd like to thank you all for joining us. Remember, as always, we didn't really get to any calls this time around because there was so much to talk about. We had a live studio audience. But for future, write it down, 516-945-9099, Skype at strongisland.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/StrongIslandNY. Follow us on Twitter at StrongIslandNY. Check out the official store at shop.strongisland.com. This program is brought to you by the Strong Island Clothing Company and Strong Island Records, where Jimi LaLumia and the Psychotic Frogs live at Max's Kansas City 2.0 coming soon to an iTunes near you, and physical product to follow. Bobby Serra, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Well, that was pretty good, man. You did your thing. I see your mic just blew mine.
Oh, really? I overwhelmed you,
took all
or
the power from me.
We're losing power now?
All right. So let me just say one thing. I had an idea what you just said. If anybody, why don't we have people, if they want, they can Facebook us any questions or topics that maybe they'd like us to bring up to encourage calls. So if there's something that you want to discuss next month, a topic you're interested, Facebook Jimmy or myself, and we'll bring it up, and we hope that you can call and talk to us about it.
And maybe studio audience. I liked having a studio audience.
You did.
For sure. And you notice how vile I got when I have the punk rock in me comes out when I have a live audience, when I have people. I don't know what it is at the beginning.
That's what's all
I was
about.
I was a little bit the old punk rock Jimmy at the beginning of the show, and then as soon as the studio audience disappears, I become Professor.
You got riled up.
LaLumia again. Well, you know, I work good in a room with.
Got a little rude too.
Live crowd. Well, you know, like I said, the punk rock Jimmy. That's what happens. But Strong Island Scene, February edition. Happy leap year. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy everything. We'll see you the first Wednesday in March at 8 p.m. New York time, right here on Strong Island Scene.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And good night. Watch us on YouTube.